So deep in Azerbaijani folklore, there's this amazing tale about a monster so powerful no weapon could even scratch him. But his fate was tied to a kid who was abandoned in the wild and, get this, raised by lions. This is the story of Tepegoz, the one-eyed terror. Let's dive in.
Right? So how do you take down a monster that's literally invincible? This was the huge problem everyone was facing, a problem that armies couldn't solve. And as we're about to see, the answer wasn't a bigger, sharper sword. It was a sharper mind. And yeah, a little bit of magic.
You know, they say every great hero needs an even greater villain. Well, our story actually kicks off with the villain. We're going to uncover the bizarre origins of this one-eyed terror and the absolute chaos he unleashed on the world.
It all starts with a wild storm and a shepherd who finds this strange baby among his flock. This wasn't just any child. He had a single eye right on the top of his head. So they named him Tepegoz, which literally means top eye. A kind, childless couple decides to take him in, thinking maybe he's a blessing. They had no idea they'd just welcomed a curse into their lives. From the very beginning, the boy's hunger was just not normal. First, an entire basin of dough just vanishes. Poof. Then, 2 whole lambs are devoured, nothing left but bones. But the real horror, the moment everything changed, was when a neighbor's child went missing. That's when his adoptive parents had to face it. They weren't raising a child, they were raising a monster. So once he's cast out, Tepegoz totally embraces his monstrous nature. He finds this giant cave that's basically a fortress and makes it his own. And his strength? It's off the charts. He literally rips a full-grown tree out of the ground to use as a club. He even starts to gather his own flock, not of sheep, but of these massive monstrous beasts the size of buffalo.
His reign of terror becomes absolute. He raids villages, eating people and livestock until whole communities just pack up and run. I mean, this quote from a villager says it all. They had no choice but to flee from a monster they simply could not fight.
But you know how these stories go. In the shadow of all this terror, a hero's story is just beginning. And trust me, his origins are just as mythic and strange as the monster he's destined to face.
While everyone's running for their lives, a woman named Kamar gives birth. And in a moment of pure desperation, she has to make this impossible choice to save her son, Isgander. She leaves him in a cave she thinks is safe, with just a protective band on his arm as a kind of prayer. Little does she know, she's just left her newborn baby in a lion's den.
And this is where the story gets so fascinating. Check out this contrast. You've got Tepegoz, the monster, raised by loving humans, who chooses to become a destroyer. Then you have Isgander, a human, raised by a wild animal, who becomes a protector. It's a really powerful take on how it's our choices, not where we come from, that really define us.
But here's the thing, the lioness doesn't harm the baby. She adopts him. She nurses him with her own milk, and it's like magic flows into him. He grows up with this unbelievable, superhuman strength, the power of a lion, strong enough to move mountains. And all this time, he knows absolutely nothing about the human world he was born into.
Sooner or later, this boy raised by lions learns about the one-eyed monster causing all this terror. He just knows, deep down, that it's his destiny to stop him. And so the hero's journey begins. But, as he's about to find out, brute strength wasn't going to be nearly enough.
The big confrontation finally happens. Isgander, full of lion power, strikes the monster with everything he has. But his sword just clangs right off the monster's skin. It's useless. Tepegoz just laughs. All that incredible strength meant nothing. He's easily overpowered and tossed into the monster's cave to be eaten later.
So trapped in there, Isgander is forced to watch as Tepegoz eats the other prisoners. It's horrible. He knows his strength failed him, so now he has to rely on his wits. He waits for the monster to fall asleep, skins one of the giant sheep, and wraps himself in its fleece. He huddles in with the rest of the flock. And in the morning, when Tepegoz lets his sheep out to graze, the hero just walks right out with them, hidden in plain sight.
After he escapes, Isgander goes back to his lion mother, who finally reveals the monster's big secret. Turns out Tepegoz does have a weakness. And the irony is just perfect. The one weapon that can defeat him is hanging right there in his own cave, a single magical arrow. It's the only thing in the world that can pierce his skin, and the target has to be his one and only eye.
So now he's got the key. Isgander sneaks back into the cave and grabs that magical arrow. He takes his shot, and he misses.
The arrow's power is so immense, it rips a hole in reality, and Isgander falls into this dark underworld. This turns into a whole quest within a quest. He has to slay a dragon, free a mythical Zumrid bird from its chains, and only then does the grateful bird carry him back to the world of light so he can try again.
So he returns from the underworld, and he's not just a boy with brute strength anymore. He is a true hero who has been tested in darkness, and now he is finally ready for the final battle. He faces Tepegoz one last time. He draws the magical bow, takes careful aim, and this time his shot is true. The arrow sinks deep into the monster's single massive eye.
A roar of pure agony shakes the heavens themselves. Tepegoz is blinded, for sure, but the fight is not over, not by a long shot. Now he's just a wounded, thrashing force of pure rage, and honestly, more dangerous and unpredictable than ever before. So this brings us to the final, critical challenge. The monster is wounded, but still unbelievably powerful. How does Isgander defeat a blind, raging giant inside his own cave without getting completely crushed?
And this is where Isgander proves that his real strength isn't in his muscles, it's in his mind. He goes back to his first trick, the sheepskin. He goes back into the cave and starts bleeding, making this small, pathetic sound. The blind, furious Tepegoz hears what he thinks is an easy meal and charges toward the sound. Isgander stands his ground right by a deep well in the cave, bleeding again, luring the monster closer and closer until the giant lunges, and Isgander dodges and sends Tepegoz falling into the darkness.
To make absolutely sure the monster can never ever escape, Isgander uses his lion's strength one last time. He rolls the massive stone door over the well, sealing Tepegoz in his tomb for good. The reign of terror is finally over.
With the monster gone, Isgander's lion mother tells him the truth about his human birth. She guides him back to civilization, where he finds the very woman who left him in that cave so long ago. His mother, Kamer, sees the band on his arm and knows it's him. The hero, raised in the wild, is finally home with his people, and the land is finally at peace. The story has come full circle.
You know, in the end, Isgander's incredible strength didn't kill the monster. His human cleverness did. Which leaves us with the big question of this whole myth, doesn't it? What really makes someone a hero? Is it the supernatural power they have, or is it the courage and ingenuity to face something that seems completely unbeatable?